one.
International superstar, Miss Butter B.
You are now tuned in to Butter B Rocker on Transparency Talks Podcast.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Transparency Talks Podcast. I am your girl, the hostess with the mostest, Butterby Rocker. We have an amazing show for you today, but before I bring on my special guest, I just want to say thank you guys so much for supporting my film, Finding the Perfect Guide. It is now streaming on 26 platforms. Super, super excited about that. I was actually at an event last night with the co-founder of FUBU, and all I'm going to say is that be looking forward to seeing it on their network very, very soon. So I'm excited about that. Also, we have coming up on May 15th, which happens to be my birthday, BBR Indie Films. I'm super excited about this. This young lady is actually going to be featured there, so I'm excited about that as well. But she is the sync queen, everybody. She's a music producer and a DJ. Can you please show some love for London Elixir?
Hey,
Hello. How you doing, Queen?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing really good. I see we're twins with this red hair today.
Okay, it's a red day. It's a red day.
It is. It is. So, London, I like to dive right on in. Can you tell everybody a little bit of background about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So, as she said, I'm a music producer and a DJ. I do a lot of work in sync licensing. So, I've had placements with a lot of the major networks and streaming services, MTV, ESPN, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Amazon, like pretty much have music on a lot of different platforms. And all the music is music that I've produced and then worked with artists, whether they're singers or songwriters, rappers, like to put the full songs together. And yeah, and I also DJ, mostly private events, but also have a residency at a restaurant in Buckhead called Apartment 4B, doing gospel brunch every first and third Sunday. So that's like the only public thing you could catch me at right now.
That was a whole mouthful. That's a lot of things that you're doing, which is a wonderful thing. Okay, so let's dissect all of that. Okay, which started first, the DJing or the music producing?
That's a great question because a lot of people think that I've been DJing, like I was DJing first, and I actually have only been DJing for a year and a half. So
wow.
Production came first. Yeah, it just, I think because I've been producing for so long, it made it like an easy transition. So like the level at which I DJ, it doesn't match that I've only been DJing a year and a half, but I think it matches like my musical background and my technical skill. So yeah, production came first. I first found out about music production when I was in high school, and I just knew at that moment that that's what I wanted to do. I took a kind of like crazy route to, get to it, but eventually made it to doing music full time as a music producer in 2019. And yeah, been doing that ever since. And DJing, like I said, I picked that up a year and a half ago because of the writer's strike that was going on. Since I do a lot of work in sync licensing, like the money kind of slowed up a little bit during that time. And I was like, oh, I need another revenue stream. And DJing just seemed to be the best fit.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, so you got the bug to be a music producer in high school. Is that where you got your musical skills, or did it start beforehand? Do you play any instruments?
Yeah. So I've always liked music. I think when I look back, even to like elementary school, I remember, in third grade having the recorder, the little, you would play like Kumbaya or whatever on the recorder. And I really liked that. I've always liked the music classes in school, like choir and like, I think I always had the bug. I started taking piano lessons when I was in 8th grade. So that's what I'll say. I actually started, really getting into music. I also played clarinet in 6th grade. So I've always been interested in it. I think it's always been something like, when you're a kid, you just think things are fun. But now that I'm doing what I do now, I can look back and say, yeah, I've always liked music.
Okay. So take me through how you said, you know what, I want to do music. but then you
Mhm.
transitioned all the way into sync. So take me through your process of how you got there.
Yeah, so for me, as a music producer, when I first moved to Atlanta, I didn't even know what sync licensing was. I was really still working my job, and I was trying to figure out how I could get to a point to quit my job full time.
Mm,
So I just was working out of studios, interning, going to events. The cool thing about Atlanta is they have like there's always something going on, some sort of panel event or just conference, anything. So like there's a lot of access to information here that I didn't have access to when I was in my hometown of Columbus, Ohio. So like moving here, I found out about sync licensing at one of the many events that were going on in the city. And that was in like 2018. And like in that moment, it was in the back of my head, but I wasn't really sure how to get into it. So I started trying to go the library route, which was, like getting music in catalogs and then hopefully that the catalogs would place the music. And I did that for a few years. Like I was getting a lot of my music accepted, but nothing was getting placed.
mm,
So I was like, oh, I got to figure this thing out. Cause at this point I had already quit my job. Like I didn't have a single sync when I quit my job. So that was a faith decision.
yeah.
So then I was like, okay, the library route isn't working. I got to figure out how to get directly connected to, music supervisors. And at the time, Clubhouse came out, that app.
Mm,
And I literally just went on Clubhouse and typed in music supervisor, and so many people popped up, anybody who had that in their bio. And I just started researching them and reaching out to them and making connections with them. And that's how I was able to start getting syncs.
wow. Okay, so it's not that easy. I mean, you make it sound like it's easy, right? But a lot of people, it's not that easy to just go online, look for people that are music supervisors and contact them and have success, actually reaching them and getting work. So what's the secret? What's the secret sauce?
I always have been told by the music supervisors I connected with that I had good timing.
Hmm.
And, that's like not something that you could really control. I like to say, shout out to God. He has some favor on me or something,
Right.
because it was like I reached out to them at good times, like times when they actually were needing the type of music that I was making.
Yeah.
And it just kind of worked out. And also, I would say, like, so just not being prepared for the opportunity. Okay,
Mhm.
that's the secret. Because even though I had the music and I did reach out and they did respond, like I was very professional. So
Mhm.
like it wasn't, and I came in with a little bit of knowledge of how it worked because
Mhm.
of the research that I had been doing. So it wasn't like I was coming to them with music that had samples or music that wasn't original or music that would be tough to clear. I was coming to them like with music that was one stop that they would be easily, able to place. So I would say like being prepared for the opportunity as well as having good timing. And also like I wasn't reaching out to them like, hey, here's a song, use it. I was reaching out to them like, hey, I like the work that you did on this show. Um, these songs, the way you did the music on the show was awesome. I feel like I have some stuff that could also be a good fit, but do you work with composers directly or do you go through libraries? Because then they'll respond and say like, oh, we actually only go through such and such, like we only work with publishers or we work with these libraries, or yeah, we work with composers, send us some music. And then the other thing I would say, the secret is not to get too discouraged, because it's like I always say, it's kind of like playing the lottery, because like there's like you're just like trying, like buying tickets, like please, like choose my song. And you're going to get way more no's than you get yeses. If you're playing the lottery, you're not going to hit every single time, but the more
Right.
tickets you buy, the more likely you are to hit something. So don't let the no's discourage you, just keep going. It wasn't for you, but the next one could be.
Absolutely. You definitely dropping some gems. Well, we are going to rewind a little bit. Doo-doo. Rewind it. So for the people that don't know, and for the people in the background, what is sync?
Sync licensing is basically the process of getting your music placed on TV and film, commercials. That's technically considered advertising, but video games and all of that are kind of encompassed in sync as well. It's anytime your music is synced to a picture. So the cool thing about sync licensing is it's a good way to monetize your music as an independent artist. You don't really have to be signed to a record label to do it. And most of the time they prefer, if you're working directly with a music supervisor, a lot of times they prefer you not be signed, because that's less levels of clearance that they'll have to go through.
Mm,
So it's really a good way to monetize your music outside of like streams and, trying to do a bunch of shows and sell merch and stuff like that. It's another revenue stream for you as an independent music creator.
Yeah, definitely. So I met, well, I didn't meet you there, but I saw you speak at the Sync Spotlight, and everybody was showing all of the work that they've done. And I got placements with Georgia Lottery and with the Louisville basketball team and some other places, and I didn't get any footage. It was back in the day. It was back
Mm,
space area, you know. And I'm like,
okay.
I wish I would have got, had my promo to be able to show like y'all have and everything. It was really, really cool.
Yeah.
All that. Okay, so let's get a little technical with this. All right. So, are there any technical requirements or formats that the music needs to be for film and TV use?
Oh, that's a good question. So one of the main things like about sync music is it ending with a sting. So it's like making it end on the one is like how I like to like think about it. Like if you know music is like 1, 2, 3, 4, if it's a 4 time. So like
Mhm.
I'll say make it end on the one instead of the four. Usually like you'll make a beat, you'll cut it off at the end of that fourth bar, like at the end of the song. They like it to end on the one and have like a sting out. So it's like a like it just comes to this conclusion basically, which is good for like transitioning scenes and things like that, like where they're going to place it. So having a sting ending on your music is really, really important. Also being able to have access to your alternate versions because sometimes they might just want the instrumental.
Mhm.
So like it's some people I've had ask for stems, but most of the time they just need the instrumental in the main version. Of course, also having a clean version of your music, depending on where it gets placed, they might not want anything explicit, but with a clean version, it's more than just bleeping out your words. You actually should re-record a version that has words in those spots. So it still feels like a full song, but they should
Right.
be clean. So, and then also like when you're submitting music, nobody likes attachments in their emails. So make sure that you're sending links to your music, like streamable links, whether it's a SoundCloud link, a Dropbox link. Disco is major. Like having disco is a major key. It was created by music supervisors, so music supervisors love it. Like it's super organized. You just upload your playlist and like send them directly to music supervisors, and it's easy. They can download them. They can see all the writers information, the BPM. Like you could encode all of that into the track. So yeah.
Definitely. Okay. And another thing that you had talked about, you said you create music that's a one stop. So can you tell people what one stop means? Because everybody has not heard that term.
Yeah, one stop basically means that I am the one stop that they have to make for clearance. So they don't have to go through all of my songwriters. Every song that I do one stop agreements with my songwriters, which that says that I am allowed to sign off on the use for it. So that's attractive for music supervisors because that means that they could get that music cleared quickly.
Mhm.
There's no extra sign offs that they'll have to go through. Like they just need my sign off and they'll ensure, of course, that they, as long as we keep all of the splits and everything consistent on the back end. I'm not trying to cheat anybody, none of my writers out of anything. I'm just trying to expedite the process of us being accepted, our music being accepted for a sync placement. And making your music one stop is a easy way to do that.
Absolutely. So what are the different types of sync licenses, and how do they impact compensation and usage rights?
Ooh, what a loaded question. Okay. Oh, there's so many. Okay, so I'll give an example. So I did a sync license for digital media only, which is basically like social media, like TikTok, um, what else? YouTube, like basically like digital media, Instagram. So that means that they can only use whatever you sign off on is what they can use. So like they can only use it for that. So they paid me, and this was for an advertising campaign. That one was $10,000 upfront.
Wow.
Now, that same exact commercial
Hmm.
ran like ESPN wanted to pick it up. So that's not digital media anymore. You know, now we're talking about running it on broadcast like TV. That's
Hmm.
different. They have to pay you because that was not what you originally agreed to. So they have to pay you again. So ESPN wants to run it, say they want to run a commercial for like 2 weeks. Okay, cool. Like that was another $5,000 just to run the commercial. And then Nickelodeon picked it up as well. Like that's a whole different network. So just because it's broadcast, I didn't sign off for broadcast rights to every single network, only ESPN. So when Nickelodeon wanted it, they had to come back and pay us again. They want to run it for a week. Okay, $2,000. You know what I'm saying? So, and this is for a 15-second clip. It was like a 15-second ad that was with the NFL and got milk. So it was like, you know, so the different types of licenses, like everything is what you sign off on, what you agree to. The most important thing in any agreement is like knowing your rights and whether you're giving it to them non-exclusively or exclusively or for exclusive for a period of time, like knowing the term. Like perpetuity is like, are you letting them use it forever? You know what I'm saying? So when you're signing off on these uses, just keep all of those things in mind, because like if you tell them, oh, you can have it exclusive forever and you could keep the publishing, like you're limiting the amount of, you know, money that you can make from it, as opposed to our situation with that one song that I just gave the example with. We kept all the rights to that. So even though we let them use it exclusively for 6 months for the digital media run, when the broadcast came up within that 6 months, it was up to us whether we wanted to let them run it on broadcast or not, you know? And then after that 6 months, all the rights came back to us. So Amazon, you know, they do football, I think Thursday Night Football now on Amazon Prime or Prime Video. So they had to come to us directly if they wanted to do a broadcast of that song. So just knowing your rights and paying attention to what you're agreeing to so that you can maximize your opportunities is really key.
That part, definitely. Because a lot of people don't understand what exclusive, like you said, there's perpetuity, and then there's also exclusive with terms. And so what I typically do is do the exclusive with terms. I don't usually like the perpetuity at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And then even with the perpetuity, because I'm the type, like, when I'm like first getting into something and trying to like figure things out, I try a lot of different things. So if I am ever giving, because I've done music for libraries that is exclusive in perpetuity, but we retain our writers share on the back end. It's just kind of like I just forget about those songs. Like it's like I like act like those songs don't exist. The only time I remember those songs is when they pop up on TuneSat or a BMI, you know, royalty statement. It's like, oh, those songs got placed, cool. But like, because as musicians and creators, we could get very attached to our music. So like saying that something is exclusive to a library, they usually won't even let you release the song to streaming. You know what I'm saying? So like it could be hard to depart. So like whenever I do anything exclusive, I usually create it specifically for that. So I don't even get attached. I already know like where it's going. And then I might just make another song similar to have for myself that I can run around, you know, wherever.
Definitely. So how do you ensure that all the necessary permissions are obtained for the music to use for your projects?
Like, so mostly I work with the same people for the most part. So we all have an understanding of the business. So there's no hiccups. We kind of understand. They know that whatever we create is for a sync placement, whether I have a brief or if we're just creating in general, they know that I'm going to be trying to get it placed. So like I said, I have agreements in place with all of them that says like anything we create, I could shop as long as it's according to the splits. And I make sure that we do all of our split sheets as soon as the song is done. I don't like to dilly dally, if you will, about the business. And I like everything to be fully transparent. I talk to everybody, like, if I fully produce a song and I have multiple writers, how do y'all want to split the writer share? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we just have those conversations and it's never been a problem. Like, I've never had an issue with splits.
Okay. So what is some of the biggest misconceptions about the music industry that you would like to clear up?
I think like a lot of people, I think it has to do with the perception of success. So like people, it might look like people are successful, but it depends on how you want to describe success, right? So you might have a bunch of followers on Instagram and not really be making any money from your music. You know, like you could have a decent amount of streams, but that only equates to a few $100s. So it seems bigger than it is. So it could be like, I think like there's a common misconception when it comes to like what people are doing, or even with sync licensing, sometimes like you could get like those big syncs and then like go without a placement for months. And then you're like, trying to either stretch that money or figure out another revenue stream like I had to do with the DJing. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like I think people see things and it might look one way on social media, and then like they might think, oh, I could just go do that. But it's actually a lot of hard work. It's a lot of mental toughness. It's a lot of resilience, and it's a lot of problem solving and adapting, like considering whatever your circumstance might be at the time. That
Definitely.
answers the question. Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely answers the question. All right. So you're doing a lot of things. You're DJing. You have a book that I definitely want to talk about.
Okay.
You have a new film that we're going to talk about.
Yes.
And you're producing music, and you have your own personal life. How are you managing all of this and balancing it?
Whew, I don't know. I don't know. I just take it one day at a time. I think having like a work-life balance is really important too, and making sure that you're grounded in something. So for me, like that's spiritual. I was born and raised, like believing in God as a believer. So like I go to church, Bible study, like doing things that I feel like uplift my spirit. And keep me encouraged, like try to surround myself with people who have like a similar mindset to me as far as whether it's entrepreneurship or like their spiritual walks. So we could keep each other encouraged, like having a good support system is really important. But yeah, I also take days off. Like I'm not one of those people who's going to be like, no, you can't sleep and you got to breathe it or whatever that, like, I'm not one of them. Like, it's like, no, mental health is important. Well-being is key.
Right.
If you need to get in therapy, if you need to read the Bible, if you need to talk to some friends, like mental health is so important. None of this stuff matters if you have a mental breakdown and can't reap the benefits of your hard work, or if you can't enjoy it because you're so depressed because of what you had to do to get there. Mental health is key. So for me, I take days off, like Mondays every week. Everybody knows, like, if they know me and they've been working with me, everybody knows don't hit London on Monday. Like, she doesn't work on Monday. Don't invite her to an event on a Monday. Like, that's my off day. Like, that's my Sabbath, if you will. Like, and I chose Monday because like I'm a DJ, so the weekends are always like, busy for me. So Monday is like an easy day to like not do anything. Everybody else is at work. And there typically aren't events on Monday. So like I just take Mondays, start my week off, like get my mind right, meditate, pray, relax. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of a way of making sure that like I keep in my mind that at the end of the day, no matter how much I do, God is ultimately in control. So I have to sit back and relinquish that control over my life, be intentional about that so that I'm not driving myself crazy trying to do too much.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about your book, PTO, Paid Time Off. Can you tell us what the concept and when it came out?
Yeah, so PTO, Paid Time Off. I love that book. To this day, I'll be like, who wrote that? Like, it was me, but like, I'll be having to read it sometime and remind myself. So PTO, Paid Time Off is a book that I wrote after I quit my job to do music full time. And again, I wrote this book prior to even having any sync placement. So some people like hear that I wrote a book and they think it's about sync. It's not. So spoiler alert. It's about living in your true purpose, and making sure that, you're not just going through the motions in your life, day to day going through motions, like making sure you're living a fulfilling life. And for me, that came from like taking a leap of faith, leaving my job to do music full time. And the reason why I wrote the book is because when I first quit my job, I think people thought that like, oh, she must have got a major placement or something big happened and she had the money to quit. And that's not what happened. So people kept, I'm trying to get like you, what'd you do? Like, people like in my DMs, people in my life, like, let's go to lunch. I want to pick your brain. And then finally I realized like, whoa, there's a big demand for this information. Let me put it in a book because like, it's not like anything that y'all think, you know what I'm saying? Like it was something I was preparing to do for a while, but it was like a spiritual decision as well as like, like just a timing thing. So I wrote a book about it. It's called PTO, Paid Time Off, and it's available everywhere. I put that book out in 2020, actually. So about 4 years ago this month. Yep. I put it out in May. So yeah.
You know what's so cool about what you just said? I kind of did the exact same thing. I was working at this corporate office, and I worked at Home Depot corporate. Then I moved to a Solvay Pharmaceutical, and I promise you, it felt like everybody had on suits. Everybody went to dinner, lunch at the same time. It felt like a robot. I mean, it just
yeah.
right? And at that time I was doing a lot of backgrounds and stuff in the studio for TLC and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I gotta go. I gotta leave. I gotta leave. And I resigned and they offered me more money. And I'm like, it's really not, it's not about the money. It's about, I have to be able to follow my own dream and do what I
Mhm.
for me. And so I
Mhm.
left, I started touring and everything.
Mhm.
And then in 2019, torn meniscus, torn ACL, dislocated my shoulder, which took me off the road from touring. And then I decided to write my book. And my book is
Mm.
an Amazon bestseller and everything. But it is about having faith and exercising that faith and just diving in and taking
Yes.
a step at a time. So
Yes.
I really like your story for sure.
That's awesome. Like, I think that people underestimate the role that faith plays in a lot of our lives as creators and entrepreneurs, because there's not a lot of opportunities that we get to speak to that
Yeah.
when we're in these rooms and these events. Like, that's hardly ever a topic of discussion that comes up. So you never really know who's a believer and who isn't. But I'm glad you shared that, because it's like you just really never know. And then you have these conversations, and it's like, the same God been holding us all together now. We all taking leaps of faith. Like, it's such a similar journey. You know what I'm saying? So thanks for sharing.
We really do have some similar journeys. Like even
Mm-hmm.
in this next journey of leaping into the film world. So let's talk
Yes.
about the film. You
Yes.
you have a new film that's out, a documentary called Sink or Swim that's going to be premiering on my BBR Indie Films event. And
Yes.
let's talk about that project.
Yeah, so Sink or Swim is kind of similar to the book as far as like people kept asking me. So I'm like, let me put it together. So there are a lot of people who wanted to know how I started getting sinks and like how I got into music and stuff. So I was like, you know what? I remember when the phrase sink or swim like just came into my head. Like, it was a while ago, and I was just like, I texted to my friend, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this, but sink or swim, like, that just popped into my head. And
Mm,
then I met somebody who worked at the Nashville Film Festival. Like, they were in charge of putting it together. And they were like, you should come to my festival. We have a lot of music supervisors here. It would be a great, opportunity for you to meet some music supervisors. So
mhm.
I'm like, oh, okay, bet. Me being the type of person I am, I'm like, well, if I'm going to a film festival, then I should have a film.
Right.
So we put that film together. It's a short film, Sink or Swim. And it's like a documentary style. It's about how I got into sync, how I got into music. And, we have interviews with people that I've worked with. We show how I got some of my placements, things like that. And we put it together and we submitted it. It didn't get into that festival, but we still went and met a lot of the music supervisors and everything. So, and we did like a private screening for it for like people, some of our like close people. So that was cool. So now we are working, well, we just completed the feature length film, which will
Mhm.
be coming out this summer. But in preparation for that, we're going to do our screening at the BBR Indie Films event and have the short film screening there. So we're really excited about that. And it's, yeah, like you said, our journeys are so similar because like there's so much overlap in the types of things that we've done and that we do. So we're really excited. My team and I are excited to be screening there.
That is wonderful. I'm glad to hear that as well. I've really created that space for indie filmmakers. I mean, there's so many talented people out there, and I dived in from that injury of the torn meniscus and ACL and being off the road for a year. I said, you know what? I want to do a film. And I just
Mhm.
got right into it. And then I had my premiere at Studio Movie Grill, and seeing it on the big screen was like surreal. And I was
Mhm.
able to be able to give back and help other people have the same experience that I had. So that was the whole purpose of, creating BBR Indie Films, is to elevate one another and everything. So
Yes,
yeah,
I
it's
love
really
it.
good. So what's next for you? Okay, you have BBR Indie Films, you have your
Yeah.
feature film about to come out. And what date is your feature film?
July 14th. So
Okay.
if anybody wants tickets to that, just follow me on Instagram, London Elixir, DM me. We're putting together the wait list right now because you can't really, the only people who can get tickets right now are our sponsors.
Mhm.
So, oh, and if you want to sponsor, hit me up about that too. But we're going to open it up to general admission as well, but just not yet.
Gotcha. Okay. So then what's next for you?
So next, Lord, so much. I guess something that I could talk about is an event that I'm putting together with Jan, that's Hunter Jr. He's another producer who I met actually at NAM earlier this year, and he's fired. So we're putting together an event where we're going to be teaching people how to make money from their music through sync, social media, and streaming, because like it's going to have, I don't know if he'll want me to tell all the information yet, but just it's gonna be good. We got a couple other panelists who are gonna be there,
Right.
and y'all are not gonna want to miss this event. It's gonna be in September, so I'll keep y'all posted with the details on that as well. So just follow me on Instagram for updates.
Absolutely. So how can people follow you?
Yes, so everything is London Elixir. The main thing that I'm on is Instagram, so just at London Elixir. That's ELIXIR. It'll pop up. And then my website is www.londonelixir.com. So if you have like DJ inquiries or anything, you can find me, like I said, on Instagram or on my website.
Okay. So London, I would like to take this time to thank you so much for stopping by Transparency Talk Podcast and giving us so much in depth about what the sync world is and all of the amazing things that you're doing. I can't wait to see you on May 15th. We're going to turn
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. So you stay on, but everybody else, we will talk to you guys later. Peace, y'all.